Hey, ladies. Straight Talk Sunday, your favorite time of the week, right? Water, you need that. Smoothie, that's what I'm drinking today. Your notes for all of the revelations that you are going to get, right, through this Straight Talk Sunday. Don't really have a plan for this one. Not that that's anything new. I wanted to talk though about the topic of being uncomfortable. So, we're going to talk about discomfort. I think that I have learned in my own journey, walking with other women as a health coach, but just being a woman in relationships, that being uncomfortable or the feeling of discomfort is probably the number one thing that we experience in our lives the most. Like most people don't just ride the wave of not feeling uncomfortable. So whether they're uncomfortable in their skin, they're uncomfortable in a job change, they're feeling discomfort in a relationship that's starting to have conflict, they feel uncomfortable in their role as a parent. I feel like every day are just opportunities of being uncomfortable. And I just started thinking about this in the past couple of weeks about how we make being uncomfortable bad, and that a lot of the definition that we put around being uncomfortable or being in discomfort is actually what holds us back from having joy and peace in the midst of living a really uncomfortable life. So many of you know, if you were reading my post, that my divorce was final on Friday. And for about 4 or 5 days leading up to that, I knew that the day was coming. I knew that that was going to be the day. I felt like I was crawling out of my skin. I mean, I've been walking this path for 4 years. I've been moved out for over 2 years. I mean, this is not new stuff. I can't imagine, because it's not my story, of walking through a divorce at the beginning of an upheaval, like at the beginning of the affair, like walking through all of the divorce. Then I'm so glad actually that it's taken this long because it's allowed me to process. But I got really, really, really uncomfortable knowing that the final thing was coming. And maybe some of you have things in your life where you're like, this should not be a big deal. Like, I knew this was coming. I've been waiting for it to come. I'm prepared for it to come. But there's something about this reality of change. And I felt like I was crawling out of my skin. So when we feel like we're crawling out of our skin, when we feel uncomfortable, and maybe for you, you just know what that means. Like, yes, Amber, I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin when this happens. We go to crazy places. And the thing that I learned is that when you get the feelings of crawling out of your skin and, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable right now, whether it's in a feeling, again, a relationship, a confrontation, whatever, if we aren't careful and we don't slow ourselves down, then we act hastily and we immediately go into desperation. And desperation is when we make choices that afterwards we're like, why did I do that? I'm smarter than that. I know that that doesn't solve it. Or, great, now I have another issue on top of the issue I'm dealing with because I made that desperate decision. And so in this last week, I've had to consciously slow myself down and understand that the discomfort is part of the journey, and that the discomfort is actually an indicator of movement in my life. And it's same thing is true for you. If you are so uncomfortable right now, maybe you're getting healthy, you've been on a health journey, but you're taking it to a new level. Those of you watching this live are going through COVID and the isolation still and the weirdness out in society and trying to get back into church and trying to get back into work and what that looks like. It is all uncomfortable, every single thing. And if we can choose to slow down then I believe that these are the places that we hear God. I really believe that these are the seasons, the seasons that make us want to speed up and make a hasty decision out of desperation to just get out of what's uncomfortable. That if we slow down and if we tell ourselves the truth, that this whole life journey is about being uncomfortable, all of it. All of it's about transitions, right? When we look back at our life and we describe, if I were to ask you, tell me about your life, tell me about the big things in your life, you would normally, your focal point would be transitions, huge things, moving, getting married, having a child, changing jobs, going back to school, gaining weight, losing weight. Like it's these big transitions. Nobody likes the transitions. The transitions are difficult. Now, is getting married exciting? Yes. But there's this tension going up to it, right? It's uncomfortable. It's different. It's exciting, but it's also there's stress there. There's tension. Becoming a new parent, is that exciting? Absolutely. And then with that comes a whole bunch of other stuff, right? Changing jobs. That can be. But this is how we describe our lives. We describe our lives in the transitions, which are all places of being uncomfortable. This is also where when I talk to women and coach to women, they're like their health changed. I'll say, when did the weight loss change, or when did, the version of yourself that you felt comfortable in, when did that start to change? It's usually around a transition, a loss, a move, a marriage, a relationship breaking down, a divorce, a whatever. There's usually something that is attached there, because in the places of discomfort, transition is when we get desperate and we just want to quickly make ourselves feel better, instead of acknowledging that this is part of the journey. And here's what I have found: the greatest gifts are found in the discomfort of transitions, in the places of feeling like we're crawling out of our skin. We have absolutely no control, no certainty, and physical uncomfortable, being uncomfortable, physically being uncomfortable, emotionally, psychologically. That these are the places that if we go to the right source, we have the opportunity for the greatest gifts. See, guys, if we're always comfortable, there's no push to change at all. If we're uncomfortable and nothing rocks the boat, most likely we are not going to take on change ourselves. We're not going to make ourselves uncomfortable because we think, oh, I'm so comfortable right now, I should really do something that makes me feel uncomfortable. We have the idol of comfort. We worship it. We do anything to maintain it. And I wrote this down: comfort is an idol, and we serve it with our feelings. We bow to comfort and we do everything we can to try to stay in the feelings that we think are comfortable. So if we're feeling a little bit lonely, we want to feel connected. So if we don't have a person to connect with, we will do it with food. So we will do it with cookies, we will do it with ice cream, because we've got this uncomfortable feeling of loneliness, and we want to serve our comfortable feelings. So we have food, we have alcohol, we have TV, we have habits that we go to because our feelings are telling us that we are uncomfortable. And because our idol is comfort, we will try to get into a position to get those feelings of comfort. And that is where a lot of us struggle with our weight. It's where a lot of us struggle with eating things that make our stomach hurt and make us not have a good night's sleep. And when we wake up in the next morning, we feel like we got hit by a truck and we go, oh, why did I do that to myself? It's because we serve an idol. It's because we want to be comfortable. And our feelings are often where we go to say, yes, I'm comfortable, because I'm feeling okay. So here's some of the things that we say to ourselves when we want to stay in our place of comfortable and we're allowing our feelings to drive that. We'll say things like, I don't feel like doing that. Okay? I don't feel like doing that means I'm just fine where I'm at. I'm super comfortable where I'm at. I might want something different. I might claim that there's something else out there that I would like to get, but I'm more committed to staying here. So I don't feel like it. So I'm not going to do that. We'll also say things like, I can't control myself. I can't stop. So that gives us permission to keep doing what's making us feel comfortable, even though it's dysfunctional, even though it has ramifications that are going to build up and are going to end up making us feel uncomfortable, anyways. We stay in the place of, well, right now it's working for me. Right now, having a couple glasses of wine is working for me. Right now, eating, even though I'm gaining weight, like right now it's keeping me where I need to be. So we tell ourselves I can't stop. We tell ourselves I can't control myself. We tell ourselves this is how I've always been. This is just who I am. This is just all I know. And all of those are lies. They are lies to worship the idol of comfort. Um, and if we're aware of that, this is what's great about these straight talks. And if you're doing my group coaching, is that this journey is not about right or wrong. Amber, that was so bad. And oh my goodness. No, it's revelation. It's just revealing that the very things that we told ourselves were things to avoid, like being uncomfortable, being in discomfort, avoiding pain, avoiding rejection, avoiding grief. We're told this by society to avoid them. That's why there's all of these dysfunctional behaviors that all of us pick up, right? And then we kind of drag them along with us. And then when we finally realize that they're not doing what we think they're doing, they're actually making more issues, we start to actually be open to opening up the bag and going, wow, where did I pick up that behavior? Where did I pick up that lie? Where did I pick up that pattern of thinking? And this is the process of becoming, not fixing. I love this. I mean, I just read this somewhere. It's like, this is not about fixing ourselves. It's about becoming who we really are by opening up the bag and taking out the things that we felt like we needed to do or be in order to be okay. And I've realized in my becoming that part of becoming the full me is being messy and being imperfect and messing up and being awkward in conversations, but not holding back my feelings or my thoughts because I want to be perceived as a certain way. And it is so uncomfortable. Like, it is so uncomfortable to have a conversation with a group of women and really say the things, not from a place of like needing to be right, but like if somebody says something and you're confused about it, to go, can you explain what you mean by that, instead of just, oh yeah, and just kind of like going right along with it. It is uncomfortable. But when we become ladies, this is where life becomes so alive and vibrant. And I think a lot of women that I coach, and I can put myself in this category in different seasons of my life, we just want to feel something. So we think that the scale is going to make us feel something. We feel like being thin is going to make us feel like something. We feel like walking into a room and being like the thin person or the person that lost all the weight is gonna make us feel alive. And that's not it. It's fully showing up as who we are, the imperfect versions of who we are, and being okay, not being okay, being okay, being uncomfortable, being okay to sit in our pain, to sit in our discomfort, and to not do it perfectly, but to not run away and stuff it down. Now, I've talked in many straight talks that pain that is unmanaged has to be managed. Pain that is undealt with has to be managed. So if we're not processing our pain, if we're not healing our wounds, if we're not giving God access to those places of brokenness where we made up things about ourselves and we picked up habits that just has allowed us to survive, right? Then it has to be managed somehow. It doesn't just go away because we're not talking about it or thinking about it or processing or allowing God to have access to it. It doesn't just dissipate. It goes somewhere. And a lot of times I believe that disease, cancer, diabetes, thyroid issues, fibromyalgia, MS, even like things that attack certain parts of the body. I believe that there's a huge emotional component to that. And more evidence is coming out that that's true. So that's why in this Healthy Edge journey, and if you're part of this community, we can't just talk about the food. I've realized in this journey, it is so little about the food because once you take care of the other stuff, the food becomes not as big of an issue as, okay, now you're not going to eat a tub of ice cream every night, and you're not going to have 4 bottles of wine every week, and you're not going to do these things. If we just change the behavior, but we don't change what that was managing, then when you take those behaviors away and that stuff starts to bubble up, it can be, first of all, you're either going to just take the behaviors back so you can press it back down, which is what most people do, or you pick up new behaviors. And so now you're just finding a new way to manage. So that's why it's so important in this Healthy Edge journey that we just continue to, as God reveals, because God is the one that reveals. He gives us revelation. We don't need to go back in our past and dig up stuff just to dig stuff up. I guarantee that if it's something that needs to be dealt with and the time is to deal with it now, that if you stop escaping the discomfort, God will bring to the surface the thing that you're supposed to deal with. And I've had women that I've coached that they're like, I haven't thought about that thought in 15 years. Why would that come up? And I'm like, hey, like that's how God works. And if it comes up, we just need to look at it. We need to look at it. Sometimes it just needs to be acknowledged that it happened. Sometimes it needs to be acknowledged that it happened, but in a new light. So that's what's been happening with my marriage is over the last 4 years, it is like what I thought was reality, slowly God has revealed bit by bit, like taking something off, like if you're gonna have a fancy dinner, right? And you reveal and you think that's something you're like, oh, I already know what's underneath. It's pasta, you know. But then you open it up and it's something completely different. It's like he's been revealing like what I thought was going on, this is what was going on. How I thought I was showing up because I'm a good wife or because I'm whatever, really, it was this. And I'm just like, holy cow. But he revealed bit by bit. He couldn't let all of that revelation wash over me at the same time because it would have literally killed me. Like, I'm just saying, like emotionally would have killed me. Just piece by piece, bit by bit. And for 4 years, God and I have been walking around the rubbles of what happened. And some things he doesn't address at all. And then other things like the little thing that I'm like, huh, like that doesn't even seem significant. There's a significance there. And so what I've learned though is that I've had to be okay with being uncomfortable to the point that being uncomfortable is actually comfortable. Sometimes I have a hard time not being uncomfortable because I know that in order to grow and to continue to make progress, I need to be uncomfortable. Like that's actually the sign to me that there's progress being made. And I encourage this with my clients, and I know some of my clients are watching this, that when you get in a place of your health journey and you still want more, but you're super, super comfortable, that's the time for God to reveal what is the next step. So let me give you an example. I'm kind of all over the place, but I know you guys can follow me because we're women. So I have been attempting to fast on and off for the last few years. Never in my spiritual journey have I felt a need to fast or a desire to fast. And then it started coming up often when I would spend time with the Lord, when I'd listen to podcasts, it was like fasting, fasting, fasting. So I tried to do it, would fail miserably. I would only make it to like 11, and then I would literally feel like I was going to die, and I would quit and blah, 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 blah. God's so patient. So he's walking with me. And in these last couple of weeks, I've started to fast on Wednesdays. But here was the difference, ladies. Always on to the Lord. But I acknowledge that Wednesday is my day to be uncomfortable in being hungry. Now, that's a huge thing for me because hunger for me triggers me into the old pattern, the old Amber, the old that I'm no longer with bulimia. Like I would starve myself all day. I would be so hungry at night that I would just stuff myself and gorge myself, and then I would throw up. And I lived in that space almost every single day for a lot of years. And so there was a fear around being hungry. So instead of fueling my hunger with unhealthy food and bulimia, I've come to a place that I fuel my hunger with healthy food. I eat every 2 to 3 hours. I'm rarely hungry, like starving at all. But to feel hunger is super, super, super uncomfortable for me. So I realized that that's an incredible place for me to meet God. We meet God in our places of discomfort. So the discomfort of hunger, the discomfort of waiting for whatever it is that you're waiting for, the discomfort of not knowing what's going to happen, the discomfort of change, the discomfort of loss. These are huge places of discomfort that we can either hastily move through and we can get desperate and we can pick up something to help us with that discomfort, or it's the very place that God meets us. So I decided on Wednesdays, I'm going to meet God in the discomfort of my hunger. I'm going to be okay being uncomfortable and being hungry and not making it about I've got to grab onto something and eat it because I can't stand this feeling. Now, again, guys, I didn't make this up. Like, I felt like God was like, this is something, Amber, that I'm going to ask you to do. And then it's just obedience of whether or not you do it. And I thought how powerful it would be for me to take that feeling of discomfort that I used to go to bulimia and I used to go to drinking and I used to go to binging, and instead turn it to God and let Him walk me through that discomfort without hastily addressing it out of desperation. And it's been so powerful. The thing that I've noticed is that how I used to feel when I would fast, that would be like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so uncomfortable. Like, I can't stand being hungry. Like, I'm going to die. I mean, all those things. None of those thoughts are there. And the hunger comes, and I go, Lord, this is where I'm going to hunger you. I am not going to die. This discomfort is not going to kill me. And I can trust you with all my places of discomfort. And I am taking this to you, and you are going to walk me through and see me through. And within 5 minutes, it's gone. And then another wave will come in, and I do the same thing, and I give it up. And I think that this is just a practice of what God wants us to do in our discomfort all the time. If we always took it to Him, if we always surrendered it up and said, I'm not going to act hastily, I'm not going to go to the places that I usually go to, but I'm going to sit in the okayness of my discomfort. And even though I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin, I am not going to escape this place so that I can meet you, God. But every time, ladies, we hastily move in desperation to pick something up, to bring it into our discomfort so that we don't have to feel so uncomfortable, we miss what God wanted to speak in that moment. We miss it. We cover it up. We drown out His voice because we've chosen our God. We've chosen what we want. We get to choose what we want. And these last couple of days with the divorce and all of that, I mean, I'll admit, like, I had a couple glasses of wine. I was like, I needed to be around people. I needed to be like in all of these places. And then there was a couple moments that I just went, no, none of those are giving me sustained comfort. None of them are giving me, Lord, the peace that I already know that you give. Like, I've experienced it over and over these last 4 years. Why would you not meet me in this place, in the finality of a chapter closing and all of this leading up to this dying? Like, why wouldn't you always, also be there for me in that place? But it was my choice. And so just sitting even today, just kind of in the reality of kind of what is, and being uncomfortable in the waiting and in the unknown and in the uncertainty, in the what's next and in the what do I do with this now? knowing that just like he's met me in every other place, he's going to meet me there. And this is not, this whole uncertainty thing, guys, is not going to end. It is a constant lifelong journey. So the straight talk tonight is really about, what does discomfort mean to you? Do you make it a bad thing? Do you make it a thing that you absolutely by no means should feel or want to feel? And maybe your whole life you have learned to escape the discomfort of those places, the hunger, the waiting, the not knowing, the grief, the loss, the uncertainty, the unknowing of um, whether or not we're going to be good enough. I mean, just there's just so many places. But whatever it is for you, I think if we redefine it, that this is what life is all about. This is the process of becoming, is being able to be in the discomfort. And if we can be in the discomfort, it actually can become a place of comfort because it gives us evidence that we're not staying where we are, which for most of us is not where we want to stay anyway. Now, if you're in a place that you love your life and you do not want absolutely anything to change, you just go ahead and be comfortable as long as you can be. I guarantee something's going to come that's going to make you uncomfortable, but that's great. You might be in a season of celebrating the fact that God has brought you to a place of peace, and you need to enjoy that place for as long as possible. But if you're like me and you feel like things are shifting, we have to decide, are we going to hastily move through it out of desperation? Or are we going to sit and we're going to meet the only one who is the true comforter, the only one who knows what the next step is, the only one who knows what is certain, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the only one that truly holds our life in the palm of his hand? Go to that place with our discomfort, or go to the world's version, which God's still going to love us, but we don't get to go to that. We don't get to fully become who it is that he's created for us to become. And I've seen what God's done to me. And for some of you who have known me for a long time, like, you've seen the transformation. Like, I've lived it. It's only God. Only God could have done this. And so I have built trust. And maybe my testimony is where you trust, because you've seen it in me. And maybe that makes you willing to listen to a straight talk like this and go, you know what, I'm uncomfortable in a lot of places, and I'm searching for the idol of comfort, and I'm going to that place a lot, and it's not getting me what I want. So maybe, just maybe, I'm going to invite God into that discomfort. I'm going to let go of the things that I've been holding on to make me feel like I'm okay. And I'm going to turn to the one who I am okay in. So that's kind of what I wanted to kind of talk about tonight. And that's it. So think about it. Just think about it. Have a conversation with God. Maybe you have a girlfriend who's close to you, but take it to God first. That's the other thing that I've realized is during this season, as I was so apt and quick and hasty to take what was happening in my life to someone else to get their take on it, to make me feel like I was okay, to build me up, instead of going to the Lord first, allowing him access to that place, that fresh place, that new place, that clean slate, letting him put his mark on it first, and then going to somebody that I trust, that I've given permission to speak into my life. And instead of looking for validation, I'm looking for edification of what I already know God has told me. That has been super, super powerful. It's not always easy, but it's so refreshing because God's never not home. He never doesn't pick up the phone. He never gives bad advice. He never speaks out of his emotions or his hurt or his pain into mine. He meets me with fresh, brand new eyes like, Amber, I see you, with no baggage. And any human being that we go to brings baggage, like they just do. So that's been huge for me as well. And maybe that speaks to somebody too who has maybe been trying to process some things without going to God first. So something else to nibble on. Okay. All right. That's it. So I will talk to you on the next Straight Talk. For those of you on the community, I'll see you on the Facebook group. And I love you all.